Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Hochradel, and if you want to learn the 5 things that you need to know to get started in Illustrator, stay tuned. All right, the very first thing that you need to learn to get into Illustrator is to, oops, that's the wrong button. We're off to a rough start here, y'all. All right, let's do this. All right, the first thing that you need to know to be able to use Illustrator is this. You need to download Illustrator. So go to adobe.com/products/Illustrator. That is the place to grab the program. You can click on download right here to get that. The next thing is that if you have downloaded it, we want to make sure that you're up to date. So go ahead and open up the Creative Cloud desktop app. Go to all apps or updates and it will show you if there is an update. So I just had an update for Illustrator about 5 days ago, and you can turn on automatic updates or update your programs there. All right, that is number 1. Number 2, the next way that you can get involved and learn about Adobe Illustrator is to join us for our creative challenges that happen almost every single day at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time at behance.net/Adobe Live. We are always teaching you new things about Illustrator. And today, that new thing is going to be the basics of Adobe Illustrator. So what I want you to do, click on the link down in the description for your source file. That will take you to this folder right here. I'm going to show you how to download your source file to learn how to be a beginner and move from beginner to a little more knowledgeable in Adobe Illustrator. All you need to do is click on that link in the bio, and then from here, we can click on download. It will download this file for us, and then we can click to open this file. Boom. Right there. All right. So we have the file opened. This is what Illustrator looks like. And I'm going to show you how to set up a new document in a second. But I wanted to show you how to open this and explain a little bit about Adobe Illustrator. The first thing that I want to teach you about Adobe Illustrator. So Adobe Illustrator is a vector program, and what that means is that everything is mathematically based. It is all based on different points going from one spot to another, and we can designate what those curves look like as well. So these two terms are something that you need to know. The difference between raster and vector is math versus Minecraft. That's how I like to describe it. So if we zoom in here, you can see all these little blocks. These are pixels. And pixels are much like Minecraft. It's a bunch of little blocks that make up an image. Now, if I zoom over to the image next to it, you see that I can actually zoom infinitely into this shape. And that's because it is mathematically based, right? This circle is saying all of these curves are based on math and not necessarily on little blocks that are stacked next to each other. So, pop quiz, raster, Minecraft, vector, math. That's what you need to know. And Illustrator is a vector-based program, which means you can scale everything you make into infinite sizes. All right, let's go ahead and zoom out here and let's just take it in. Let's take a minute to take in all of Illustrator, and this is hopefully a helpful look at some things from Illustrator that you might want to know. All right, so let's go through the basic interface of Adobe Illustrator. You can see here, we're going to start in the top left and then work our way around clockwise. So we have our tools to the left, and this is our toolbar. And in here, these are all of the things that you will use to create your designs, to create something in Adobe Illustrator. If you want more information about any of these tools, you can hover over them and watch. Boom. It will give you a full rundown of what that tool is. So let's go ahead and look at the hand tool because we'll be using that a lot today. So the hand tool, pan over the canvas and artboards. Let's go ahead and click on learn more here and we can get some more information. So it's going to open up this Discover panel, which is a great way to learn new things about Adobe Illustrator. And it is showing you all the things that you can do, drag in any direction. So if I want to select this tool, I now have that tool selected. And you see, if I click and drag, it will move around the artboard. And the artboard is just the space that is inside this black line that we see here. So with the hand tool, we can click and drag to move it around. You also can hold the space bar to click and drag around. Now, if you get lost in your document, a very easy way to recenter the document is to double click on this hand. it will scale the artboard, right, our active area inside this black box, right to the window so that you don't have to really work in finding anything. All right, so continuing counterclockwise, next up is the fill and stroke. The fill and stroke are the two colors. So the fill is what's on the inside of the shape, and the stroke is what's on the outside of the shape. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a stroke, and I'll show you how to do this in a second. But the stroke is going to be the outside. So here, the pink on this object is the stroke, and the black on the inside is the fill. So you can see that right here. You can also swap these by clicking on these arrows, and it will swap the stroke and fill. If you want to change one of these colors, you can double click into the center and then simply click and drag in our color picker tool to find the perfect color. Let's do a nice green. So I'll hit OK there, and you see that it has changed that fill color. That's not supposed to be there. All right, continuing around in our left counterclockwise rotation, the document information down here in the corner. It's kind of small to see, but you can currently see in the bottom left here, this is the amount of zoom that you are out. So if you want to change that, you can click on this little drop down and change the zoom. This little degrees is the amount of rotation on any object. So real quick, let me move this. And you can see here, oops, sorry, that is the rotation. Down here is the rotation of the artboard. So you're able to rotate the artboard. We'll get there. It's a little more advanced, but that is the rotation of the artboard. Excuse me for misspeaking. Down here is the navigation. If you have multiple artboards, right, multiple areas that you're working, this will tell you which one that you're working on. 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you have. So next up down here is the active tool. And the active tool is going to show you what you're working with. So right now it says selection. And we just learned that if we hold spacebar, it will bring up the hand tool. So when I hold space, you can see that change to just say hand down there. So it says hand down there. Now let's say I want to zoom. So I grab the zoom tool, magnifying glass. It now has the zoom tool, but I want to zoom out. So if I click, I can zoom in. But if I want to zoom out, I hold Alt or Option and then click out. Easy, easy, easy. All right, let's recenter by double clicking on that hand tool one more time. All right, continuing around, we have our utilities. And these utilities are on the top right. And there's, I think, a different name for them, but I like to call them utilities because that's what they do. They modify things that exist. So there are a bunch of different utilities here, and you can kind of click through and explore them yourself. But the one that you do want to pay attention to is the swatches. The swatches are an easy way to select something that you've created and then change the color using these swatches. For now, use the default swatches, or you can use, again, the fill over here to find your own color. So again, we're gonna make this pink just because it's beautiful. So we have a nice pink shape. You can see we select a shape and then click on a swatch to change that color. Very easy here in Adobe Illustrator. All right, so up here are the tool options. Right above all these names, I have a lot of files open, are the tool options. So you can see if I select something, all of these options change. It gives us the stroke, it gives us all the alignment tools, and depending on what you have selected, it will actually change what these are. So you can see if I have type selected, it's going to change to different options. This is basically saying anything that you have selected, here are the options of what you can do with that thing, right? Pretty easy. So let's continue on, and I want to show you a little bit more about Adobe Illustrator, maybe some terminology. So let's learn some terms here. In Adobe Illustrator, we are going to focus on these three things. We have lines, we have paths, and we have shapes. So a line is a straight point A to point B, right? So we have over here point A, and then on this side, point B. Straight line from here to there, easy. Now this is a path. A path has at least 3 places that it's going. So we have 1, and then down here we have 2, and then over here we have the 3rd. So a path is anything that has 3 or more points that it's kind of moving toward. Almost everything that has a curve is a path and not necessarily a line. So a path has a beginning and an end, right? The difference between a path and a shape is the path has a beginning and an end. A shape has no beginning and no end. It is fully enclosed. So this is important terminology to know because in Illustrator, there are times you'll need to work with a path and there are times you'll need to work with a shape. So I'm going to show you real quick the difference is if I just go ahead and create, and I'll show you how to do this in a second. If I create using the pen tool, which is just P, and I put a stroke on it. If I click and I bring out a bunch of different pieces, this is just a line. If I select it right, I can put a fill color inside, but it's going to leave this weird edge, right? So this is a path. Now, if I make a copy of this and I close it, right? So it's no beginning and no end. It is a fully enclosed shape, right? You can see all these points. There is no openness. Now I can change the color and you'll see that it is a complete enclosed shape, right? So let's do that with a different kind of size of shape. So you can see when I close this right there, it is now a closed shape, right? So path, open, shape, closed. Got it. So I'm just going to click and drag over these shapes and hit delete to delete them. Very easy. All right, recenter. Let's go ahead and learn about a couple more things, and that is an anchor point and a Bezier curve and a handle. So in Illustrator, you might come across this. There's something called anchor points, and an anchor point is something that you can use to move things around. So if I use the selection tool up here, which is the black arrow, and I click on something, you can see that it selects the entire object. Now, if I go to the direct selection tool, which is A right here, we'll be able to see each of these points. So as I zoom in here, these are called anchor points. And you can see that an anchor point is happening at every place that an object is starting or stopping. So on here we have an anchor point, and when we select this, you can see that there are these handles that fly out to the side. Basically what's happening here is we're telling Illustrator, start at this anchor point and end at this anchor point, right? As we create, it's going to stretch out and basically use momentum. Think of it as a roller coaster. And we have someone in our live chat that I do want to shout out real quick. Chavi, nice to see you saying this is really helpful for rookies like me. If you're watching the replay, this is a live show, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time every day, behance.net/Adobe Live. And you can interact with us in the live chat, just like our friend Chavi, learning some new things. And that's what this is for, to learn and level up your skills. This is just for beginners. If you want to continue to grow your skills, you can join us for the creative challenges. All right, so let's go ahead and continue here. We're working with a roller coaster. When we select an anchor point, you can see this handle is traveling in the right direction. And what I like to think is we are starting at the bottom of the hill of the roller coaster right here, and we are heading toward the top of the hill, our next location, point A and point B. And we're having a lot of momentum, right? So you can see as we drag out and see this anchor point, you can understand where it's going, right? And that's why it's not just a straight line between these two, because it is pushing with speed and momentum toward the right, upwards toward this next point, right? And that's how we get these curves, which is called a Bezier curve. All right, so I think that we have learned the basics of the interface of Illustrator. Now, let's learn some basics to get you started. The first thing that you're going to do to learn a little more about Illustrator is hit Control-N or go to File, New. And from here, we're going to make a new document. There's a lot of resources for you to be able to just create something. And I'm going to go to Web. And let's say that I maybe want to create something for Instagram. So let's go to mobile real quick and see if we can do maybe a square. Art and illustration, film and video. Let's go ahead and type in some custom parameters. So the width is going to be 1080 and the height is going to be 1080 as well. These are common sizes. There are a lot of different sizes that you can use here in Illustrator. We want to use this one, 1080 by 1080 pixels. And pixels are just a unit of measurement that are really small. You can do inches if you're working with paper as well. So from here, scrolling down, let's go ahead and name this, and this is going to be our first design. All right, so check our first design, 1080 by 1080, and let's go ahead and hit create. I had all kinds of settings turned on that were not what I wanted to be turned on. So let's try this one more time. Let's go ahead and start a new document by hitting File and New, and then coming over here to where we want to make our document. We're gonna go ahead and look at Saved, see if there's anything in there. There's not. All right, to make a new document, let's go ahead and go to Mobile, and we are going to type in our first design. We are going to change it to 1080 by 1080. From here, we have a new artboard, and that's the space inside this little black line. It's the new area. And we are going to start making some shapes. Now, this is not going to be advanced, just simple for you to understand. The first thing that I want to do is I'm going to use the ellipse tool. And the ellipse tool, when I click and drag, we're going to be making a smiley face today, by the way. When I click and drag, it's going to drag out, right? You can see that it's kind of making a circle, but when I hold Shift, it's going to make a perfect circle. So holding Shift is going to make it a perfect circle on our design. So I'm just clicking and dragging, right? So from here, I want to align this. So with that selected, I'm going to come up here to my tool options, and we're going to hit horizontal align, and then we're going to hit vertical align as well. We're going to change the color of this to yellow. We already know how to do that by changing our fill. We can double click right here on fill and simply drag into a yellow. Now I do want a stroke on here, and to change the size of the stroke, you see with the object selected, we can come up to our properties and we can increase that stroke just by hitting the up arrows to move things around. If we want to move this shape, you can click and drag it around, or you can just use the arrow keys to move it up and down. Pretty easy. Let me go ahead and recenter it there. All right, so now we want to go ahead and make another shape, and that's going to be the rectangle tool. Now, a lot of these shape tools that we'll be using as you begin are going to be underneath the ellipse tool. And this is something for you to explore on your own time. Underneath all of these tools, there are extra things for you to learn. So we're going to click and hold, and from there you see that we can grab different tools. So we're going to grab the rectangle tool here, and I'm just going to make, let's say, a little open mouth. So we're going to click and drag to make an open mouth. We're going to switch this one to be black on the inside. So all we need to do again is click on these little arrows and it will swip. There we go. So we have that mouth. We are going to align it right to the center with it selected and going to the alignment tool up there. Now I want to do a nose, and the easiest way to do a nose is we've done ellipses, we've done rectangles. I want to do a polygon. And with a polygon, all you need to do, you don't need to click and drag, you can just click. So simple click, and then you designate how many sides you want. And here I want 3 sides. We're gonna make a little triangle. So a 3-sided polygon is a triangle. We're gonna hit OK. And from there we have our triangle. Now you can grab these little anchor points on the sides and click and drag to scale it up. Now you see as I click and drag, it's getting a little wonky. So I'm gonna hold Shift again and it will lock it in to those dimensions that I want. So we're going to align this to the center again, grab our selection tool, and then just click and drag so that we have a nice little nose down here. I want to do 2 eyes real quick using the ellipse tool. We're going to click and drag holding Shift to make a perfect circle. And then we are going to click and drag holding Shift to make another perfect circle. All right, so we've made this little bit of a wonky face, but guess what? We're beginners. Let's take all the victories that we can, right? We've created something in Adobe Illustrator, our first design. It's this weird little wonky face, but I love it. Now, if you want to change the color again, you can select the shape, come over to your swatches, and then boom, select the color, and we can make him look real crazy. He's looking pretty wild here, but we've learned how to make shapes, how to edit shapes, and also how to make a new document and new artboards. So very easy way for you to learn Illustrator. Now let's go back to our basics real quick, and I want to show you some hotkeys that may be important to your design. So V, the selection tool, we've been using that. That's the black arrow to just move things around. The direct selection tool. And I think that we're back. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we come back here. All right, I think that we are back here. We got it. Thank you. Sorry about that, everybody. Had a little bit of a technical hiccup in the background. All right, so I'm going to show you real quick those hotkeys. Selection tool, direct selection tool. We have spacebar is going to be the hand tool to move things around. Z is to zoom in. If you hit Z and Alt or Option, you can zoom out. T is your text tool. Control S does a save. Control Z will undo. And then the arrow keys, you can move things around. And Shift is going to move at 45-degree angles right there. So with our last few minutes, I do want to show you how to export. Here's how you export in Adobe Illustrator. We have made our wonky little face, and I love it so much. He is a little weird, but it's our first design. We're just learning Adobe Illustrator. We've used ellipses, we've used polygons, and we have used rectangles, all kinds of goodness. So from here, whatever's inside our artboard, right, this active area, we're going to be able to export it. We're going to go to File, and we are going to go to Export, and then Export As. So when I export my designs in Illustrator, I want to make sure that I have the right settings. So we are going to go in here and I'm going to set this as a PNG or a JPEG. So let's do a JPEG for now. And we're going to click on Use Artboards. That's going to allow us to just export the space that we see right here, right inside of our little artboard. So we're going to have our first design. That looks good to me. And we're going to do Use Artboards and 1. And when you're saying, Andrew, how do I know that it's number 1? Remember, we talked about having your active artboard right down here. So it's showing 1. That's our active artboard. So we're going to hit Export right here. And now we're going to set these settings. So we're going to set this to maximum. If we want to print this, we want to make sure that it is in CMYK. Those are cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, the 4 colors of ink that are used for print. RGB, red, green, and blue. Those are the colors that you want to use for your screen. So for screens, we only need 72 in the resolution. If you're going to print something, you want to make sure to go all the way up to 300. So for now, we just want to stay at 72. The rest of these settings, don't worry about now. We're going to hit OK. And now Illustrator is exporting this in the background. Now, there's another great way for you to get involved once you are done with your first design in Illustrator, and that's to join our Discords. You can find those links down in the description to join our Discord, and it is a thriving community of creatives and mentors like myself to give you feedback and help you as you learn and better yourself on your Adobe Illustrator journey. So you can see here a bunch of people has posted in Discord with their designs. So I'm going to go ahead and open mine, right? And we're just going to navigate to the place that we exported this, right? You can see here our first design. All we need to do is click and drag this into Discord and say, here's my first design in Illustrator. And from there, all we need to do is hit enter. And then we will have a team of experts, a team of mentors able to push all of this and give you feedback, push you to the next level to help you out in everything that you want to know. As always, if you have questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments under this video. And thanks so much for joining me today. It was a great time. Sorry about the little technical hiccup, but you can join me for a series of beginner challenges all this week. Or if you're watching the replay, there will be a playlist that will continue to play, and we'll be teaching you about InDesign. We'll be teaching you about Photoshop, Adobe Express, and even Premiere Rush. So it's going to be a great time. I'll see you every day at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time here on behance.net/Adobe Live. Bye, everybody. Have a fantastic week.